Hello, welcome to my channel Tech Tejendra. Myself Tejendra Rana, and I am having more than 15 years of IT experience in various technologies. Currently, I am working in multi-cloud solutions. Today, we will discuss about persistent session management. This topic is very important because today's many applications are being deployed in clustered environment in clouds. We will use Spring MVC and Spring Boot to understand the concept of persistent session, and to demonstrate I will show you how this session data can be saved either in JDBC or in Redis in-memory database. Let's move to the agenda of today's discussion. First, we will discuss about what is session in web applications. Then we will discuss that what is the need of persistent session. Then we will discuss what all solutions Spring is providing for session management. And finally, I will demonstrate you with an sample applications to how the store session data into a data store. Let's move ahead. We know that HTTP is a stateless protocol. It means that all the requests which are coming to the server and the response which is getting out from the server are independent from each other. Okay, so but for some enterprise application, it is required that we must know that which request is coming from the which client. That's why we need a session between the client and the server to store information about every request and response which is we are getting from a particular client. That's why there are various ways, mainly 4, to store all this session data. One is cookies. In cookies, we generally save this data inside the client browser. Then we are having hidden from field. Hidden from fields means every time once client is sending data to server, so either in a post request or in a get request, this data is being sent to the server from the client side. Then we are having URL writing, and the most important one is the HTTP session. In HTTP session, we store session data inside the server itself. Like in this example, Tomcat is the web application server, and whatever session information is there, it will be stored inside the Tomcat server memory. Like in this example, you can see client 1 is sending some request to the server. In that case, a new session will be created between the client 1 and the server, and the session information will be stored as a HTTP session object. Likewise, once client 2 will send a request to the Tomcat server will create another HTTP session object inside its memory, and it will represent the session of client 2. All HTTP session objects have the maximum storage time limit. For example, let's say 15 minutes. So if the maximum storage limit is 15 minutes, then suppose if client 1 send a request to the server and it is create a new session object for the client 1, and if client 1 do not interact with the server for more than 15 minutes, in that case this session will be deleted from the memory of the Tomcat. In that case, again, if client 1 will send a request to Tomcat 1, that in that case Tomcat will treat it as a new request and will create a new HTTP session object in that case, and all the data which was stored in the session object previously, it will be vanished. So let's move to the another slide. So if we use persistent session management, then in that case server will not store session object inside the memory, server memory. Instead, it will store all the session objects to the some kind of either a database we can say, or in-memory database, or the MongoDB, NoSQL database kind of thing. Why we need to store session data in a persistent storage? There are various reasons, but the most important reason is nowadays applications are running in clustered environment. Clustered environment means that multiple server nodes are running. Okay, so your application instance is running in multiple servers. So you can say the many copy of your applications are running in different servers. Okay, so in that case, so many servers are there, so there might be load balancers also there. So if load balancers are not the intelligent one, and the load balancer is not either handling the sticky session or the replication of the session, in that case what will happen, that suppose a user goes, suppose here is the load balancer between the client browser and the server. Okay, so if a browser first connect to the server, then it will create a session for the user. Okay, and second time if the same user again send another request to the server, and if your load balancer not having sticky session technology or the session replication logic there, in that case load balancer might send your request to the another node. Okay, in that case that node will treat your request as a fresh request, and in that case it will create a new session object for you. It will not understand that you are the already connected user, and it will not get any data which you have previously saved into the session. Okay, that's why we need a centralized location where we can save the session data for the users and for the all nodes of the server. Other advantages of using persistent sessions are that suppose if your application crashes, okay, in that case your session data will also be crashed. But if you are using the persistent session, in that case your session data is saved into the memory, in the data store memory, and once your application again start, the user can connect to your application and can start using the same session data which is already stored into the database. Let's move ahead to the next slide. Spring Session module provides 4 ways to store session values into the data store. One is JDBC. So the JDBC method means any kind of RDMS we can use, either MySQL, Postgres, DB2, Oracle. So we can store our session objects inside the RDBMS. Then Redis. Redis is the very famous in-memory database. So we can save our HTTP object inside Redis as well. Hazelcast also is a in-memory database. Then nowadays NoSQL is being very popular. So MongoDB is one, then another is the Cloudent. So currently there is no support for Cloudent as of now for Spring, but for MongoDB it is providing the support. So we can use the MongoDB as well to storing the session data. Now I will demonstrate you with an application, and in this application first I will connect the JDBC and will store the session data into the JDBC, and after it I will also demonstrate by using Redis. So let's start. So for demonstration purpose, I have set up a database inside my AWS account. Let me show you here. So I have taken up the Postgres SQL database server here from my AWS account, and then I already have the code. I have already written the code and I have uploaded this code into the Git. Okay, so from this Git repository, I will upload all this code into the Eclipse and will then show you every step and every files needed for this persistent session management. Let me first show you the database and the database structure which Spring will use to store the session. Okay, so it is my client and I have connected from this client. I have connected my AWS Postgres database. So these are the two main tables. One is Spring session, another one is the Spring session attribute. So as you can say that currently both tables are empty here, Spring session and Spring session attribute. So Spring session generally save the primary session IDs and the time means the max inactive time interval and other things of the particular session object, and then Spring session attribute store the whatever we are saving data inside the session, so that all values will be saved inside this. So I will show you with the help of application. So let first we open our Eclipse here, and let first I create a new Maven project here, and I will import this Maven project from my Git account. So let we go to the import here, and then I am going to the Git project from Git. Next, clone URI I am selecting. Then let me copy my URI from the Git here. Okay, then next, again next, and finish. Okay, so as you can see that it is my building of the project has been started here. Now let me show you everything here. First, let's start with the pom.xml. So it is the Maven project, and you can see every Maven projects come with the pom.xml file. So let me first show you the dependencies which we are using for this project. First dependency is because we are using the Spring MVC. The same thing can be done in Spring Boot as well, but I am demonstrating it to you with the Spring MVC. So it is using the Spring framework first of all, and then here is the Spring framework session. Okay, that is needed. This dependency is needed because this dependency will, and artifacts ID must be Spring session JDBC. Okay, because we are using JDBC to store the store our session values. If we are using Redis, then instead of JDBC here it will be Redis. Okay, then for making the connections with the database, as we are using the Postgres, so we have also included the Postgres dependencies here as well. Okay, and these dependencies are because it is a web application, so we are using these dependencies here, web jars and kind of things. Okay, so let's move to the code now here. Main. So it is our index.jsp and web.xml. There is nothing in web.xml. Either we can achieve these by writing XMLs, means we can define beans inside XML as well, but we are not defining we are not using XML for defining beans. We will connect it with directly Java code here, and then let me show you the Java files. So here you can see currently here are the 4 Java files. First let me start with the initializer.java. So initializer.java is nothing. it is just calling our config. So here we are giving the means calling and giving the data source and connecting to the database. So it is our config.java file. Config.java file here, let me show you. This statement is very important because enable JDBC HTTP session. This is doing all the magic of storing session inside the data which we are database which we are providing here. Okay, so what generally it do, it is once we are defined here, then once we will run our application, it will act like a filter. Okay, so every time a user will send a request to the server, then there would be a filter. Okay, the filter will be managed by enable JDBC HTTP session, and in that filter it will connect the data, it will get the session from the request and will store into the database, and will all the management of this session will be done by into that filter only. Nothing else change would be required in your code. That is the only change at the very beginning you have to make for storing session into your database. Okay, then we are providing here the data source value. Here, because I am using the Postgres, so I am providing the source, the Postgres URLs and the username and the password. And then finally, another method is basically for the transaction manager. Okay, in this transaction manager we are providing our data source. So that's all code is required here, and another piece of codes are here. One is for session servlet, another is I have written for the destroying the session. Okay, so session servlet means here we are doing nothing, we are just saving some value inside our session, and in destroy session we are just destroying the session. So once I will start running this application, you will get clear picture of it. So let me start this application here now. So we will run this application inside the Tomcat. So I am going to run on server. Then I am choosing Tomcat 9 here, Spring JDBC, and then finish. So our Tomcat server is starting. You can see in the console that our Tomcat server is being started. So it has been started, and this is our first page. So let me open into the proper browser so that you have the clear visibility. So this is our index.jsp. Here the attribute and the attribute value. So whatever we are saving here. So let me first show you inside the database. Okay, so our application now running. So you can see these two tables I have already shown you. Let me refresh it. Okay, so you can see currently no data is here. Okay, now what I am doing, I will now put some value here, like let me save my name here. So if I click this set attribute button, then now in the background what it will do, it will create a new session between my browser and the server, and then we'll save this session object into the AWS database, the Postgres database. Currently it is, you can see it is running slow because it is connecting to AWS. If the database is inside the same cluster, then it will be very quick. So you can see that one. So let me show you into the database table. Currently, let me refresh it. So this is the master session table. So you can see that one session object has been saved here, and the max inactive interval time is so it is more or lessly 30 minutes. Okay, and then let me show you the attribute table here. Let me refresh it. So you can see two attribute we saved here. One attribute we saved here with the attribute name was the name and value was the TS Rana. Okay. So let me save some other value here. Let's say it name 2, and let I am again, and let me again save it here. So it is again saving data into the AWS database. That's why it is a bit slow, because I am connecting from my home and this AWS database is in US location. And okay, so it is name 2, and I am again, and if I show you it into the database table, so if I refresh it here, then now it will show you the two attribute, name and name 2. Now if we try to connect it via another browser, then see what happened. Let me copy the address and pasting here in the IE browser now. So now in that case it will create a new session. Okay, so you can say old values has been gone from here, and let me give a value here. Let me give some attribute, so arbitrary value, and then now I am saving this. Okay, so this value has been saved, and let's see in the database. First let me refresh the attribute table. So here this has been saved, but one thing here, that the session ID is different. Okay, session ID for the old one is same, but for this new one from the IE it is different. Okay, let me see into the primary session table. Now you will be able to see that two sessions has been there. One is for IE and another for the Firefox. Okay, so that way. And if we click on destroy session, so it will invalidate all the session data from the table also. So once this activity done, then I will show you that. So destroy session has removed all the attribute and it has been invalidated the session. So let me see here. So let me go into the session attribute table, and if we refresh it now, then we can see that the values has been gone. So the session has been invalidated now. So that is all for today. In the subsequent video, I will show you that how to achieve this session management using the Redis. Okay, so I will put the Git repository URL in the description section of my YouTube. Okay, so you can go and can check the code and can use that code also. Okay then, thank you guys. Thank you very much.